So I like Anthony Edwards. In a couple of years when LeBron retires, I think him and Wemby from San Antonio will probably be the faces of the league, as they should be. They're both really talented players. They'll never be LeBron because LeBron, they don't have his personality. So I'm not sure how that's going to work exactly. This kind of reminds me of that era in between, like when Jordan left and then LeBron popped up, where you had really good players, but they weren't Jordan. And I think the same thing's going to happen with LeBron. But I like Anthony Edwards when he's not saying anything stupid. So recently he said that the only skilled basketball player in Michael Jordan's era was only Michael Jordan, which is just crazy. So Stephen A. Smith was at some event with Magic Johnson, and he asked Magic about that statement. And Magic Johnson said, "I never respond to a guy who's never won a championship. He didn't win a college championship, and I don't even know if he won a high school championship." Ooh, that was so good. I thought the biggest diss of the year was Kendrick Lamar versus Drake, but this is pretty close. Magic was hurt by that, and he wasn't laughing. Like, Magic Johnson never says anything bad about players. Like, he's actually almost too pro player. He's always very supportive. So he was hurt by this because those guys in the past, they were highly skilled. Like, the difference is Anthony Edwards' era, even before that, probably around LeBron's era. LeBron played the same business in St. Mary. Probably a little bit after him is when AAU really took off, and these guys just played on AAU teams. And that's already, so these guys, when they come into the league, they are not highly skilled. Like those guys in Michael Jordan's era, Magic Johnson's era, they played 3-4 years of high school. Then they played 3-4 years of college. Michael played under Dean Smith in North Carolina. Magic Johnson played under Judd Heathcote in Michigan State. Isaiah Thomas played under Bobby Knight in Indiana. Like, there's not an accident that how good these dudes were because they got great coaching. Like, the league just exploded like Michael Jordan's talent. Like, he knew how to play in the team system, but he exploded in the league because he was so highly skilled as a ball player. But it wasn't just him. And even when you look at the teams that he played against, because I think too often today we just look at championships and we don't look at people who didn't win championships. And these guys, and this kind of stems from the whole LeBron versus Jordan debate. And the argument against Jordan has been, well, he didn't play against anybody. Didn't play against anybody. He played against Charles Barkley's sons with Dan Marley and Kevin Johnson. He played against the Seattle Sonics with Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp, Stockton and Malone in Utah. Clyde Drexler's Portland Trailblazers team that never gets talked about, they were stacked, but they couldn't win. Akeem Olajuwon's Houston Rockets, who won 2 championships when Jordan was gone. The Atlanta Hawks teams with Dominique Wilkens and Doc Rivers and Spud Webb. You got the Indiana Pacers with Reggie Miller and the Davis boys, and also Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson also popped up again because it was those New York Knicks teams with Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing and John Starks. Do I need to go on? We can even go the younger teams that was popping up then. Shaq's Orlando Magic team with Penny Hardaway. Those Hornets teams with Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning. It was not easy for Mr. Jordan to win these championships. It was hard. Even before they even talk about the Seattle's teams, even before Gary and Sean, you had the Seattle's team with Xavier McDaniel, Dale Ellis, Detlef Schrempf, those Rolando Blackman, Dallas Maverick teams, my Cavaliers teams with Brad Daugherty and Mark Price and Ron Harper, who they never should have traded. And with Hot Rod Williams, then they brought in Larry Nance, who was also great. And then Steve Kerr and Kevin Johnson was also on those teams. And then they got traded. Anthony Edwards has no idea what he's talking about. Now, I'll say, okay, he's 20-something years old. Magic is like 40 years ago. There's a lot of guys who were born after Magic retired due to his virus emission. So a lot of guys, even though they got YouTube today, they didn't grow up watching Irvin. They barely saw Jordan. So I understand what Anthony Edwards, because he said his favorite player is Kevin Durant. And which makes sense. Like, he grew up watching KD, LeBron, Steph. I totally understand it. But see, the difference between Magic Johnson and Kevin Durant is that Kevin Durant is actually taller than Magic Johnson. Kevin Durant is 7'1". Now, a rookie Magic Johnson, when the Lakers were in the finals, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the captain, he got hurt. And they have nobody else to play center. So they moved Magic from the point guard. And again, he was a 6'9" point guard in 1980. We didn't see an evolution of that until later, until we start seeing like Scottie Pippen being 6'8". being a point forward. The only other peer Magic had back then was Larry Bird, who was a 0.68 point forward. So he had Magic Johnson as a rookie playing center, and he had like a ton of points and a ton of rebounds. KD can't do that. KD's 7'1". And if they ask, hey, KD, can you play center against Joker? Now, Joker is not Moses Malone or Artis Gilmore. Moses Malone is not Dennis Rodman. He's not going to hit you, not Bill Lambert, who can hit you in the throat. He's not like that at all. He's just a highly skilled center. KD, even though he's 7'1", cannot play center. So who's more highly skilled, Irvin, Magic Johnson, or KD? Not to take away anything from anybody, but it's different. These dudes, they had 4 years of college, man. Dean Smith, Bobby Knight. I just don't understand. I don't get it. I will never understand these things. And so the response is, I've seen some of these responses. So the guys who are defending Ant on this, some of them who are rude, said, well, the only thing he has to say is that he doesn't have the virus, which is like a low blow. Talking about Magic Johnson having the virus. And it's like, well, if Ant already got like one kid, and there's another kid that there's like a secret someplace allegedly that he has. If Ant-Man keeps on going out there, not strapped up, doing what he does, he might end up with something. It might not be that virus, but he might actually catch something that he can't get rid of. So let's not wish that on somebody. Let's not, because there's a lot of viruses popping up in Houston and some of these other places. So I would advise, this is my PSA, and I would advise to Ant-Man and all these younger players, man, be strapped up, because there's stuff that's still around. That stuff that Magic Johnson caught back in the day, it's still around. And it seems like it's back. So be careful out there. But yeah, what do you guys think? Like, am I wrong? Like, I love LeBron. LeBron's from Akron. I'm from Akron. We love LeBron here in Akron. But I'm always going to be a Jordan because I knew what type of killer Jordan was. Jordan was a killer. He was a killer. But it wasn't like it was easy for him. The reason these guys are working out now is because Jordan got beaten up by the Pistons, by Lambeer and Mahorn and Rodman and Sally, and he started working out. The reason these guys are taking care of their bodies now is because of Mike. Because Mike said, I got to go into the gym and get bigger because I got to go into the hole. How would Anthony Edwards handle Gary Payton? If you take a 1992 Gary Payton where you can still do hand checking, how do you think Anthony Edwards would handle a guy constantly hand checking him? Even if we go back 20 years ago where Bruce Bowen played for the Spurs, and his whole main job was to play defense and get underneath someone's skin. How would Anthony Edwards deal with Bruce Bowen when you can put a body on somebody? Because the thing that these guys got today, that quote unquote the unskilled guy didn't have back in the day, is that you can't hand check, you can't really body these dudes up. I mean, it's still a physical game, but if you look at Luka, every time Luka Doncic gets touched, great player, but he cries all the time. How would Luka handle playing against Miami back in the day when Alonzo was there, or the Knicks, or the Bad Boys? Like, when these guys can really put a body on you. As much as I love Steph Curry, he doesn't get hit. He gets hit a little bit, but imagine he was trying to play back in the 90s against them dudes. Whereas, like, there's dudes who got paid. It's like, your job is just a foul. No points in the paint. That's that whole pipe ride. No points in the paint. There's no way you could drive back then. So, listen, he's a young guy. I think we as Gen Xers kind of failed this generation because, listen, some of these dudes don't have dudes in the home. Some of these guys don't have grandparents where they're going to pass down their generation of just history. This is why I love Simone Biles so much, because she was raised by her grandparents. So she has a great sense of history in the past. But these guys don't have that. And again, they're young. Like, I remember, like, I had greater appreciation for Elgin Baylor years later because I only knew Elgin Baylor as being the GM for the Clippers. And I knew he played for the Lakers, but I didn't know how great he was until I watched some documentaries. Like, oh my God, this guy was fantastic. So even I was wrong about players when I was younger. But man, to say no one has skill just within Jordan, even Kobe B. Bryant would be ashamed by that because he studied all the greats.